Joining a professional speakers association is supposed to be good for your career. But what if it could change the entire trajectory of your life? Today's guest on the League of Visionaries podcast experienced just that when she joined a professional speakers association in her country. Today, she is the president of the Global Speakers Federation. Meet Charlotte Kemp, a professional futurist keynote speaker and workshop leader working with organizations to learn how to use future skills to create new opportunities for themselves. Using the access of her various leadership positions, both regionally and internationally, she creates strong networks of people and encourages opportunities to co-create new projects and to share resources and insights. Aspiring and rising speakers ascribe their success to her generous input and support as a former president of the PSASA and today, president of the Global Speakers Federation internationally. In this episode, we'll be talking about what a professional speakers association has done for Charlotte, what it's done for other speakers, and what it could do for you. Welcome to the League of Visionaries podcast, where we meet experts, entrepreneurs, and enthusiasts with a visionary message to share. This podcast is brought to you by YaziMedia Virtual Media House. YaziMedia is a proud media partner of the PSASA Convention 2024. We dedicate this second season of the podcast to the speakers and other visionaries behind this premier event for the speaking community. I'm your host, Marie Leroux, and this is the League of Visionaries podcast. Charlotte Kemp, welcome back to the League of Visionaries podcast. Last time we spoke, we discussed your future's alchemy, and this year, you are the Global Speakers Federation president, and that is what we're talking about today. Welcome back.
Marie, thank you very much. I'm delighted to be back.
It's such a pleasure having you again because, Charlotte, last time we got to talk about a lot of things. This time, we're really going to sink our teeth into the speaking journey and what professional speakers associations can do, but also to clear up some misconceptions about what is a professional speakers association, what does it do, what doesn't it do, and what is this Global Speakers Federation? So let's begin with what is the Global Speakers Federation where you are presiding at the moment?
Thank you. I'm going to actually refer back to a question you asked last time about a little Star Trek badge that I gave to somebody, but becoming president of the Global Speakers Federation is the closest that I could come to joining the Federation in Star Trek. And it really is a wonderful body that supports the leaderships of the various national and regional speaking associations around the world. So it's really, the foundation is on collaboration, cooperation, co-creation of opportunities for our individual associations leaders so that they can better serve their constituents, their members better. And it's just to see all these different communities, different cultures coming together and negotiating for meaningful interaction. It is for me just absolutely exciting. I love every day that I'm doing some work for the Global Speakers Federation.
That is amazing. I don't know if I can do a good Vulcan salute. Oh, wow, you see. But well, so I don't know if I'm qualified to steer that starship, but I'm so happy to be on board a starship like that one with this incredible mission. So that is really, really valuable. And then, of course, anybody who's a speaker or even an aspiring speaker who hears about the Global Speakers Federation goes, but I want to get on board. And the thing is, you can't actually become a member of the Global Speakers Federation. There's a special avenue to do that. Can you tell our listeners more about this?
Okay, absolutely. So the Federation itself, GSF, has 17 members. And those are the individual associations around the world. So people very often come to GSF because they find it while they're wandering around online trying to work out where to take their speaking careers. and they want to get involved with GSF because it is just so interesting. But what we really need to do is to connect with our local Speakers Association, become a member there, and then you are part of this community, not a member of GSF, but you're part of the global community of these associations that support. There's a bit of reciprocity between the associations, and that is where we get the value from. So our encouragement is always to find that local association, and there are a number around the world, obviously 17 that are at a stage where they could actually join the federation. There are other associations that are still kind of growing to that place where they could join. And there is one special association called the Virtual Speakers Association International. It's not for virtual speakers, it's a virtual space, because VSAI caters for all the people who are in countries or parts of the world who do not yet have a local, national or regional association. So they can join the VSAI and still be part of this community and get all the benefit from it. And then perhaps in the future, an association will be ready in their part of the world. That's part of the work that we're doing, is to support those newer associations.
That's actually really helpful to know, because if there is no Global Speakers Federation member in your country, or your country doesn't have a professional speakers association that is affiliated, that means the VSAI can be an avenue to still get involved because it is a fully fledged member. But you have a really exciting meeting coming up tomorrow at the time of recording. And that is to start bringing more potential professional speakers associations around the world into the fold.
Absolutely. A lot of people ask me, am I enjoying my year as GSF president, and what's the most exciting part? And one of the benefits is I get to go to almost all of the association annual conferences, and that's very exciting. I've been to Germany and UK. I go to Canada next week, and then there's some more next year. And connecting with our global colleagues is very interesting, very exciting. To meet people in person that you've already established a friendship with online is very exciting. But for me, the most valuable part, the part that is most meaningful to me, is to support those associations who are not yet members of this community. So around the world, there are associations who are looking at GSF going, we want to be part of this. We want to be able to support our members here and to be part of that. So our meeting tomorrow with some of our GSF leadership is with the representatives of 8 other associations around the world, some of here in Africa, who want to get to the place where they can join the Global Speakers Federation. Membership of the GSF is not incredibly onerous, but what we don't want to do is try and force an association to grow too quickly and then to join and then to try and keep up, because almost all of our associations are volunteer-led. And we don't want to put that burden and pressure on volunteers to try and create this entity while also obviously having their own speaking career and doing other things. So we take it a very slow process. We walk alongside those associations from GSF side, and some of the work that I'm doing locally in Africa in my own business, Voices into Africa, with Bruce Wade and Njideka Chika Orji. We are also finding ways to support our colleagues and those fledgling associations in Africa, so we can help to build up that capacity. But to see them grow and their excitement and their enthusiasm and their commitment already to people in their communities who they don't yet know, but they're building something for those people to join into, for me, that is absolutely precious work.
My goodness, what an incredible prospect to look forward to having even more countries represented in an organization like that. Now, so many of the benefits of that Global Speakers Federation umbrella membership then comes through the PSAs, through to their different members. But it may be that there are people who are interested in speaking, but they're not quite sure what is the deal with a professional speakers association in the first place. They may say they belong to another organization that helps people develop their public speaking skills. I'm not mentioning any names here, Charlotte, but I know you're one of the alumni. But many organizations will not provide for people to become professional speakers. So what sets a professional speakers association apart?
Okay, so there are lots of different kinds of communities around the speaking world that will support people in different ways. There's lots of speakers who are very successful, who do coaching, who do strategy work. I do some speaker strategy work as well. We got people who teach presentation skills, and people who use public speaking as a way to build personal confidence as well as a professional competency. But to become a professional speaker means that you take your speaking skill and you build a business around it. And that gets really interesting because there are so many components around that. You as a speaker need to be able to be confident and be good on stage or online. You need to have a message or a technique as something that is valuable that other people want. So many of us are content speakers, so we've got insight. I'm a futurist, I talk about futures thinking. Others talk about sales skills. Others talk about kind of different kind of coaching skills. Anything that is important to learn, you'll find a speaker who can deal with that. But the important part is creating that business, understanding that the value that we're offering to people, we don't get to just talk about what we're interested in. We need to be able to craft a message that is valuable to a client and to an audience. And that means we're building up a whole business. We need to have all regular business processes in place. We need to market ourselves. We need to create products as well as services. We need to have different kinds of follow-ups. There may be some legal stuff involved, and obviously the financial aspect that we are actually earning income from the work that we do, speaking or speaking related products or services. And there's such a wide range of how we can do that. A lot of people come into the speaking world because they have an experience they want to share. For a lot of people, that is a hardship, a trauma, a something that they've experienced, and they've overcome that. And the sense of there's a power in overcoming problems and challenges that we might have experienced. And for a lot of people, it's like that realization, that insight that they've got in their own lives, they want to share that with other people. So that's really good. Others have, achieved some great achievement, like, climbing the mountains, swimming an ocean, and the discipline that went into that, that is what they want to share with audiences. So a lot of people come to speaking with a passion that they want to share with the world. And that's brilliant. The world needs this. But that doesn't automatically make a professional speaker. So to take that person and their message and build it into something that actually can be their livelihood, that's a huge step and quite a long journey process. And our speaking associations around the world are those places where we get the support, we learn from our peers, and we develop that business element of our speaking profession. So the associations, it's important to realize that they're not speaker bureaus, they're not speaker agencies, they're not going to get you a speaking engagement, but they will provide you with a local and access to an international community of people who have been there, done that, and sold the t-shirts, and now they are ready to pass it on to others. It is an incredibly generous and supportive community. You'll find some outliers who are difficult and prima donnas, but the majority of people, they know what they want to share. They can see the passion in somebody else, and they're there alongside them to help develop that into a business.
That's such a great synopsis, Charlotte. And I think it's really important to see that community component is one of the great things that you get out of a speakers association, and seeing how well people support each other is incredible. I've got a couple of spin-offs from that one, because one is about, it's always amazing to see how speakers, even if they're speaking in the same area, the same niche, the same specialization, how they support each other. Because in any other industry, you'd think, surely these people are competitors. And I see such beautiful collaboration between speakers. And I think some of that leads back to this idea of growing the pie. How did that expression enter the speaking community, and why is it so important?
Okay, so way back in the 1970s in America, there was a man called Cabot Robert, and he was a Toastmaster. He'd won Toastmaster competitions a few times, but there wasn't a speaking profession in the United States at the time. But people who were good speakers got opportunities, and he realized that he could earn some money, and other people were earning some money from speaking. And he said, why don't we get together and do something together? And the initial reaction was, like you said, like, oh, we can't because you are our competition. And he persevered, and he spun the story of, when we get together, it's not like we have to divide a pie into smaller and smaller bits. When we get together and professionalize what we're doing and, you know, get more people to be aware of what is possible, we grow the pie bigger. So that is kind of like a phrase that everybody in the speaking associations, they know that, they've talked about it. We have actually turned this into a professional speaker celebration day, which is on March, I got to get this right now, March 14th, every year is Professional Speaker Celebration Day. And March 14th, if you write it the American way, is 3.14, which is how we start the number pi. So it's a little bit of nerdy humor there. But we really do want to think about that concept of, when we support each other, we manage to have more opportunities. We all have more opportunities for each other and for ourselves. And so that concept is kind of foundational to what we're doing. And I've kind of seen this around the world. I love association work, because associations is literally people coming together who could be competitors, but they are peers. They're serving each other. They're taking their turns at leadership in order to make more opportunities, or to protect or to grow their particular sector. For professional speakers, these are our speaker associations. And what I've looked at this year is the concept of making the pie bigger. What does that look like across the world in different communities? And that's what I'm bringing as a message to us, that each one of our associations, our cultures, represent and value the sense of cooperation and collaboration.
Wow, that's great. Grow the pie, right?
Grow the pie.
If you're enjoying learning from our guests, just imagine attending their presentations and meeting them in person. At the PSASA Convention 2024, you can do just that. The PSASA Convention is the biggest annual event hosted by the Professional Speakers Association of Southern Africa, the PSASA, a membership body which exists to support the common needs of professional speakers. During its 17-year existence, the convention has been consistently attended by an enthusiastic audience, primarily based in South Africa. It has, however, over the years also become a popular event with international speakers looking to develop their African network. PSASA 2024 is the ideal opportunity to interact with peers and spend time with decision makers in a space where creativity, innovation, and connection are at the forefront. Find the link to book your spot at the end of this episode and in the description. Charlotte, yes, that is so inspiring. And you also then, this idea of collaboration, because it's almost like having a union for speakers, but in a very, very professional sense, a very supportive sense, and a community sense, even a sense of family. Speakers say they can go anywhere around the world and they're welcomed. And of course, that's one of the side perks, maybe a little... A commercial break here. If you are a PSA member, that's a member of the Global Speakers Federation, you can show up in any other country and you're welcome to attend a meeting. So, and you'll be welcomed with open arms. So it really is a wonderful opportunity to grow an international network along with that pie. But one question would be, of course, so what sets a professional speaker apart? And the obvious is, well, you get paid to speak, but there's more to it. And this is something that the more I deal with event organizers and talk to speakers and hear where the cynicism lies, I see how important that is. And that is ethics. Recently, somebody said to me, and I was asking about their speaking career because it was somebody who is speaking and getting tremendous gains from it. But his words were, there are many professional speakers around, but not that many professionals. What makes you a professional? And I do believe those ethics are so important, and it's interwoven into the membership process, because an event organizer wants to know that when they hire a speaker, somebody is going to show up on time, do things the right way, conduct themselves professionally on
Mm.
stage, be an asset, be sure that people get value out of what they receive.
Mm.
And also very simply be honest, deliver their own material, be honest, attribute quotes, attribute the content that they're sharing. And that is all embedded in the codes of ethics that are part and parcel of a professional speakers association membership.
Mm.
How do you see ethics for speakers?
Well, firstly, like you say, it's part of the membership. So every association that belongs to GSF has a code of ethics. And that's one of the requirements to actually join, is that there is some recognition in your local association of ethical standards. It's important to remember that our associations are volunteer associations. So you can join if you want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to join, which means that for some people, if they are unethical, they're either going to be removed from membership, or they're going to remove themselves before their peers, put them straight. But you're right. To be professional, you need to have some ethical standards, and that means not just delivering on everything that you've promised your client to deliver. So we have a responsibility to the client, the person who pays us, who is organizing us to speak, who has certain things that they want to make sure that in our message we are complying with. So we can't promise the client to do one speech and then do something different, or share a different message. That there's going to be quite a bit of a clash there. We also have an ethical responsibility to the audience, and I might take this a bit further than some of my peers, but for me, I have this incredible compassion and respect for an audience. I know that some of our messages are really difficult to hear. There are things that we need to challenge an audience with, but I do not want to take an audience to a place where they are scared or afraid or worried without giving them some way to address that. I don't want to just like satisfy an audience, but I want to challenge them, but give them some way to go. Because if we express our therapy on stage to our benefit, that's just not on. We don't get to do that. We do our therapy ourselves, and then we bring the insight to the clients. And then the other part of those ethics is, like you said, respect for our peers. So when we talk about doing our own research, it doesn't mean that we go and read other people who talk about the same thing as we do and then just do a speech based off like a mishmash of their ideas. We need to have something of depth and value ourselves. And it's really interesting, after you've been in the speaking world for a little while, to be able to quickly identify a person who's got a very shallow message, who's just kind of being motivational and talking about the different things that they hear, and then another person who has got, it's like, for every 1 minute in front of an audience, they've got like 2 hours worth of content, and
Wow.
they can bring it down and produce something of value without overwhelming the audience. But they know that they can back up everything they've said with their books, their blogs, their videos, other content, their studies, their casual studies or their academic studies. They're bringing something real, of real value. And so you do have public speakers or entertaining speakers who don't have value. You do have them in this world. But if you look a little bit deeper, you can find the speakers with real value, who will serve the client's needs as well as the audience and bring respect to the entire profession.
Yes, that respect for the profession really is something, and raising the standards of what we are seeing on stages. With all due respect to speakers, I think everybody has heard enough boring speeches that when they see a good speech, it stands out. And I do hope that over time, with movements like the TED Talks, have certainly elevated the exposure that the average person has to quality presentations, just because there is a bar and because suddenly we have examples. I certainly remember a time when I hadn't seen enough presentations to see what a really good presentation looks like. And even just for that, I think joining the Professional Speakers Association or a professional speakers association is so worthwhile, just because you get to see so many great examples. And even the fact that speakers are so different, completely different topics, or maybe even the same topics, but a completely different character, a different way of presenting the information. And I think that really shows us, back to grow the pie, there is room for everybody. There is demand for absolutely everybody.
One of the techniques that I use when I listen to anybody speaking, so a professional speaker's event or any other thing that I encounter, is in my notebook. I'm still kind of old-fashioned and I have an actual notebook because that's how I think, with a pen in my hand. But I draw a line down the page, and on one side is the notes about the topic, leadership, sales, whatever the person is talking about. It's notes there and insights and other ideas that kind of jogs my mind about how my own material compares. But then on the other side is the techniques that speaker is using that I go, wow, that's good, or I shouldn't do that thing. It is kind of like in the progression of somebody becoming more professional, as they learn different techniques and things that they want to experiment about. Maybe it's like rhetorical devices, or maybe they're really looking at their stage choreography, like how are they moving on the screen or across the stage. There's a stage when we're learning something, anything, anywhere, but where our techniques are visible to the audience. So an audience paying attention can say, I see what that person is doing there. But when you move past that stage and become really professional, people walk away with, that message was so powerful for me, I'm going to change my life. And that was the speaker, rather than saying that speaker was good, that speaker did these things, or I see what that speaker did. Because ultimately, it shouldn't be about us. It should be about the audience. So if we can communicate with real power to change hearts and minds without it being evident of what we're doing, then we've made really good progress. And hopefully only other very experienced professional speakers will be able to go, oh, I see what you did there, and that was really good. And when a speaker gets that kind of feedback from a peer, it is so precious, because you know that you've been seen by somebody who really respects what it is that you've done on stage. And yeah, that's a great way of kind of taking advantage of the speaking community, is to be able to work with peers like that, to have that kind of feedback.
That is such valuable just insight, and what a great technique just to snatch right there. Anybody who wants to speak, I think the day when you decide that you want to speak, you can no longer hear a presentation without doing a little bit of analysis. Actually keeping tabs on it is a really great thing. And there's something about that true expertise, virtuosity, that is, you can no longer see what the technique is. It just becomes this perfect whole, which makes a really powerful impression. And that just prompts me to ask, Charlotte, are great speakers made or born? And where do the two meet?
Probably the best speaker I have ever seen in my life is a Toastmaster in an obscure little town in South Africa. And he lectures sometimes. He's not interested in going out to do anything, but this man is just absolutely brilliant when he speaks, and he's not taking it somewhere else. So he's got a natural talent. He's learned a few extra skills, and he can present something powerful and that gives you goosebumps. For the rest of us, this is a skill set that we're learning and developing. So obviously you need to have some kind of, I keep thinking about, what is the audacity of us speakers who think that we can get onto a stage in front of 100 people and take 100 hours worth of time and share our ideas. It is quite a bold thing. So you need to make sure that you're respecting that 100 hours that you've got, but also that you're growing and progressing in that skill set. For myself, when I was in high school, I had career guidance, and I had this concept of, I might be speaking or training one day. I imagined myself in a corporate setting, training people, or being in a boardroom and talking to people. So I thought, I must learn some speaking skills. And our school had a speaking competition, kind of like our classes and our standards or grades, and then a finals. And then we would go from there to compete with other schools. So I'm on this little progression. I get to the finals in our school. My parents were there, my teachers were there, and I managed to faint in front of the entire audience. I passed out. I hit my head on the bookshelf because we were in the library. I woke up with the head boy and the headmaster kind of standing over me. And so my journey to become a speaker started with a really disastrous attempt. And that wasn't the last time that I fainted in front of an audience. So So I'm not the GSF president. If I can make it from fainting in front of an audience to this position, anybody can learn and grow. And sometimes a person with a really powerful message, whether they're a public speaker or professional speaker, with a really powerful message can even be forgiven by an audience for kind of speaking problems, pronunciations, difficulty with a different language, even stutters and anxiety in front of an audience. If your message is powerful enough, if you know you've got something to share, that is very often respected more than you looking professional, you looking polished. If we look too polished, we don't always come across authentically. And I think an audience would respect authenticity and value more than entertainment and polish. So yes, we do grow. There are some people with natural talents. There are lots of people who are not in the professional speaking world, but in the work that they do, they're speaking on behalf of their company, on behalf, kind of marketing products or services, on behalf of nonprofits and charities and things like that. In our home association of PSA Southern Africa, we have a category of speaker for a person who speaks for their career, but hasn't made a career out of speaking. And those are our affiliates. And in that way, we can bring those people into our community so that we might be able to share some things with them, but very importantly, so that we can learn from them as well, because we do not have the final word on what it means to be a professional speaker or a really good speaker in front of an audience.
Yes, and there's so much scope, and so much of it really boils down to that message and the audience contact that you speak of. You remind me of a time when I was teaching debating and communication as a university elective, and I had a bunch of students who were very, very keen to get high marks, and they were in an environment where it was possible to get 100%. And of course, they would ask me, why didn't I get 100? And I'd be like, I can give you 100% on one condition, but you're probably not going to hit that mark. And they were second language speakers as well, because this was in the Middle East. So it was a double challenge, right? It was a language challenge, and then it's the speaking and the logic. And debating is a very special brand of speaking. You've really got to be persuasive and know your facts. But I'd say to them, I will give you 100 if you can give me goosebumps.
Ah, nice.
It's a really, really difficult metric because it can't be faked. And it also can't be proven, but I know if I've had goosebumps. And you can actually feel when a whole room gets goosebumps. And the fact is, you can't actually do that if you haven't got the mechanics in place. So it's interesting how the techniques actually feed into that mastery, but the mastery is something that's quite a bit bigger than all of that.
Yeah, I try to make an observation there. So you're talking about debating, and I did a bit of that in school, but I wasn't very good at debating. As we kind of evolve in our speaking careers, we learn the sweet spot of where we're good. Is it keynote speaking? Is it on stage, or is it online? Is it training? Is it facilitation? Is it engagement? Can you be an MC? I can MC better than people who don't do any speaking. But in comparison to my speaking colleagues, I'm not a good MC at all. And I will always encourage an MC, somebody else to get the MC opportunity rather than me. So when we start to work that out, we realize that there are different ways of speaking. There's different things that we're doing with the skill set. And it's not just about the speaking, but it's about, the insight and the value we're bringing. So it becomes a very kind of nuanced space where you can work out where your absolutely beautiful spot is, where you just shine and you serve people, and we don't have to compete with other people and try and be 100% or try and be on stage or try and be the opening keynote speaker. That doesn't that's an ego thing rather than really tapping into our own genius.
That is such a valuable thing to know, and I think with time we begin to know ourselves as speakers. So as an aside, when it comes to debating, it was definitely a matter of those who can do, those who can't teach. But I learned so much about debating by putting that course together that now in an argument, I'm deadly. So it's It's definitely one way to learn, but it's definitely not the area. I hear what you're saying. I think we have a natural inclination and a natural genius that comes out in certain areas. And I'm totally with you on emceeing. There are people who just have a gift for that, and it's a very special thing. Charlotte, one of the advantages or possibilities and opportunities that the professional speakers associations offer is the chance to become a certified speaking professional, and that has been equated with the PhD of professional speaking. Who should think about this? It's not for everybody, but when should a speaker think about taking on that challenge?
The certified speaking professional is a valuable designation because we have kind of awards like any association space does. So you can receive certain like Speaker of the Year or Hall of Fame speaker or Founders Award or whatever it is around the world. And that's a recognition by your peers of you having achieved some stuff and been significant in the speaking world. But the designation has to be earned and you have to apply for it and you have to give a body of evidence. And the body of evidence includes lists of your clients over a period of time and access to those organizers of those particular events so that they can be audited. And not every single person that you list, but the committees that do this designation, they will actually contact the clients and make sure that everything that you stated is true. So you need the clients, you need some kind of indication about how you structure your business. So how are you earning money? Is it from just speaking? Is it from training? Is it from other products, online courses, books, whatever it is? So they want to just see your business model. And then there's the element as well of your actual speaking. So you would submit an hour-long recording of you speaking, unedited, so that they can see what you're like. If we edit, we can make things look a little bit better and take out all the ums and ahs, but they want to see your kind of raw content. And all of that is assessed. And then if you kind of pass that, then you get the designation. There are 4 associations around the world that do this designation. So it's in the NSA in America, NSA in Australia, APSS, which is in Singapore, and the Virtual Speakers Association International has just said that they will do it as well. So what that means is if you are a member of an association that belongs to the GSF, you can apply to do this designation through any of those associations. So that means if a person's a member of PSASA here in Southern Africa, they don't have to join NSA or VSAI. They can just get that designation through them. They can apply through that organization. It's valuable in that it really challenges you in terms of your business model. The minute we're challenged with something like that, we really look at what we're doing and we just kind of just keep dialing up the professionalism. So, the first time I looked at, even thinking about the CSP, I looked at my business and I thought, I can't apply until I get these things right. So you start kind of aiming towards that. Other people want to have designations because it really helps with their positioning, especially if they're going into organizations that don't always use professional speakers. They can demonstrate that they can be trusted according to this designation. And for some people, they just love the honor of that. They want to achieve it because they would know and their peers would know what it took to get there. So who should apply and when you should start? I would recommend any speaker go online and have a look at the requirements of a CSP and then look at your business, your speaking business, and start to address it in that way. If you feel like you're earning enough income that you could actually hit some of those targets because there's a kind of financial barrier that you've got to cross, then start keeping your records. And we should be keeping good records anyway. So keep your records of the clients, the audiences, the testimonials, the contact details, and work towards that. One of the kind of accidental benefits that comes from applying for a CSP is that you want to contact your clients to say, I am applying for this designation, and there is a committee and somebody there may contact you just to verify some of this information. But when you go through your list of the clients that you've had over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, and you go back to them and say, I'm applying for this designation, those clients say, absolutely, I will answer any questions that come my way. But by the way, we haven't heard you in a long time. Can you come back and do something with us? And you can pick up a whole lot of extra bonus business just by applying for the CSP.
Well, There's definitely one perk. And even simply keeping those records, because no
Yeah.
matter where you are in your speaking journey, I think it's really important to realize every single opportunity is one to just tack down, remember where was it, what happened, and even those little notes, so the observations, what went well, what do I need to work on, and seeing that over time can be incredibly fascinating
Yeah.
and yeah, very educational for anybody thinking about speaking professionally, even if you're just starting out, and if you're already speaking, hopefully it's already happening. That's really great advice. Super. Charlotte, and of course, this series of the League of Visionaries podcast is all about the PSASA Convention 2024, where you're going to be speaking about the Global Speakers Federation as a global harmony, since our theme is art and science, and that's a beautiful way to bring it all together. Now, events like this are incredible ways to just connect with the community, to learn, to really regain that inspiration to continue a professional speaking journey. And we know of people who have come to PSA, specifically PSASA conventions, and that was where they had the light bulb revelation that yes, professional speaking is for them, and it's been a career changer. I know you know stories of this personally. Why would you say it's important for a speaker, and especially an aspiring speaker, to attend an event like that?
The advice given by some of our past presidents, people who've been in the profession for a long time, is you beg, borrow, or steal money to attend a convention. I was at an overseas convention recently, and I was sitting between two men. They're both professionals, and I don't know if it was just the evening of the gala dinner and their kind of vulnerability was open, but they were talking to each other in front of me. And the one said, I couldn't afford to come to this convention. And I told my mastermind group, and they said, you have to. And they funded him to go to this convention. And it was so important. You could just see what he was learning and experiencing there. So for PSASA, the conventions are amazing. When you come into this community, I mean, we got different chapters around the country, and we got a virtual chapter, and people can attend those, and you get a lot of value out of attending those chapter meetings. But when you come to a convention, it's like, full immersion into this field. People talking about their successes and their failures in speaking, in their speaking style, their techniques, how they dealt with a client, how their business is running. The vulnerability and openness is astounding. They're not people posing. So this is one of the things we need to get right in the speaking world. And when people get it right, then they just relax. The people who don't get it right, you can still feel that they're a little bit tense. And this is the thing. We have to position ourselves. We have to do branding. We have to do marketing. We have to put ourselves out in social media and networking events and with clients, as in, I got this. Here's my message for you. Here's the value I'm bringing to you. Don't worry about me. Don't worry, that you mustn't be the center of it. They are the center, the client, the audience, the message. But we must not believe our own PR. We must not think that we are as great as the stuff that we're putting out there. But at the same time, we can't have better PR than we can actually deliver. So you can't do, a big razzmatazz, and then you come along and you are a boring, unengaging speaker with no real value. So we got to get that right. But when we come together as speakers, those kind of rose-colored glasses are off. We all look at each other. We understand when you're kind of talking PR and when you're talking real, and then you get that support. So for me, that is one of the most valuable parts, is just being with people who are honest about how difficult it is sometimes, how the challenges and how they've overcome it. And that support is amazing. For aspiring speakers in Southern Africa, there's two things. One is the PSASA has a competition called Speaker Factor, which is only for our associate members. So professional members cannot be part of that competition. But that competition runs in chapters, then there's a semi-final, then there's finals at the convention. And the winner of this 1 year's Speaker Factor gets main stage opportunity the following year. But going through that process of having a short message, kind of fine-tuned, having your peers volunteer to come and coach you so that you can grow and develop. That's absolutely invaluable. So aspiring speakers should take that opportunity if they can. Join PSASA and sign up for Speaker Factor. But the other thing is really important when we go to these kind of conventions, the annual convention for PSASA, you will have the Global Speakers Federation president coming this year. It happens to be my own association, but you'll have, you know, those people coming and other international speakers coming and speaking at the event. And then you get to compare yourself and your Southern African speaking colleagues to international speakers. And you realize that you are better than you thought you were. So here in Southern Africa, we very often go, oh, we're not as good as Europe or North America. Oh, we'll never make it. And then you see us speak and you go, yeah, that was good, but I'm better, or I've got an insight, or I've got more value or depth or something. And that confidence is just the thing that we need to get us to start promoting ourselves outside of the country, outside of our association. The whole world is open to us that we can speak, and we need to find out the best ways to do that, or the places that we have an affinity to. But coming to a local annual convention gives you that opportunity to tap into international opportunities as well.
And there is no better reason than all of those. That is just such a bonanza of so many wonderful opportunities at an event like that. And then convention-wise, of course, you've chosen a wonderful year to be president of a GSF, because the Global Speakers Summit in 2024 is being held in Bali.
Yes.
That, of course, brings everything from around the world all together.
Yes. Yeah. So the Global Speakers Summit is kind of co-hosted from GSF and some other association. And every 2 years, more or less, we have this summit. And on the board of the GSF, when it's kind of open, we say we're taking now applications for the next summit. And associations say, should we put our association forward? They do a bit of research, then they put together a package, a proposal to say, if you have the summit here, this is what we can offer in terms of, there's a lot of international speakers doing this. So they're traveling around the world, going to a place that they wouldn't have gone before, and getting these opportunities and learning about new markets. So it really is something quite significant for an association to host that. The reason it's in Bali in 2024 is because it's been hosted by the Virtual Speakers Association International, and they don't have a country, so they can go anywhere they want to, and Bali was a great choice. I came into the speaking world. I discovered PSASA by discovering accidentally the Global Speakers Summit that was held here in Cape Town in, I don't want to lie, but like 2009, 2010. And I'm online, I see this thing about Global Speakers Summit, and I thought, oh, that's a thing. And then I looked into this, and I'm reading the little article that was on some news website, and then it says it's been hosted by the Professional Speakers Association of Southern Africa. I'm going, oh, that's a thing. And I joined PSASA. Like, it was for me, like, not a choice. It just, you join, you do the next step. And I came to the summit, and I sat in this room of people that I'd only ever seen online. And I thought, I'm entitled to be here. I'm welcome to be, and nobody's judging me for being here. Nobody's judging me for being a brand new speaker with like no idea what I'm doing yet, but they just brought me into the community. They've accepted me, and this is what I'm part of. And that was just like the start of, and it's such an exciting journey for me.
Wow. What an amazing story, because the rest, as they say, is history. From stumbling onto the Global Speakers Summit in 2009 and way back, and then going through your own process as developing your professional speaking career, becoming the president of the Professional Speakers Association Southern Africa, and today the Global Speakers Federation. That's really an incredible story, Charlotte. Go ahead.
I have, one other bonus, and this is unfortunately not for every person, but the person who was the conference convener for that summit in Cape Town was a past president of PSASA. And so I got to know him, and I ended up marrying him. So that is a bonus. And I say that like it's not for everybody, but there's actually in the speaking world, off the top of my head, about 6 or 7 couples who are both speakers, and they've both been involved in things. And that's really, when you're a speaker, you need to be able to share with somebody what you're going through. So you stand on stage and people go, wow, they give you a standing ovation, and you got testimonials on LinkedIn, and you go, oh, I'm so hot. And then you come home and your partner is dealing with, the cat sick up and dishes that haven't been done and bills that have to be paid, and it kind of brings you back down to earth. But you want to be able to share with somebody to have either your partner really recognize what you're doing and what you're going through, or a mastermind that can support you and kind of encourage you, but keep you humble at the same time. That is really valuable, to have that kind of personal support within the speaking world and everything else that you're experiencing.
That's really worth mentioning. Great point, Charlotte. But we should add a disclaimer here that there's no guarantee that a professional speakers association will. It's not a speakers bureau, and it's also not a dating agency.
It's not.
But maybe things happen for you. And what you say about feeling welcomed from the very, very get-go, this is something that I hear from a number of people, whether I meet them when they've just joined the professional speakers associations in their country, or even when I've invited guests that have arrived at an event and they said, well, the next thing I'm doing is I'm joining. They just say they feel completely welcome. And these are people who are card-carrying introverts who say, I'm not sure if I'm going to cope. I just say, watch. And they love it. They feel like they've come home to family.
Yeah. Well, one of the things you just mentioned, introverts, and that's quite interesting, because you kind of like how we generally think about pop psychology is, introverts going to keep to themselves and they don't want to, be out there talking about things. But there are a lot of people who call themselves introverts who are still part of the speaking world, and they will get on stage and they will share incredible, intense value. But being an introvert doesn't mean that you can't handle that. It just means that you're going to get your energy in private as opposed to getting your energy from the audience. So to be able to see the diversity of speakers in terms of race, religion, politics, topics, business models, and the diversity of our neurocompetencies, how we actually think about the work that we do and how we engage with audiences. There's space for anybody in the speaking world, as long as you've got some value to share.
Charlotte, that is so valuable. Thank you so very much. Now, we have spoken in the past on a previous episode about your futures work and your incredible work in supporting speakers in Africa to start sharing their message. And I'm going to be sharing the link in the description to that episode. But other than that, where can people find you? What can they do to connect with you further and be part of this incredible speaking journey with you?
Thank you. So LinkedIn is the place that I go all the time to connect with people and build a network around the world. So please connect with me on LinkedIn and just let me know that you came from Maria's podcast. And then also I have a website, charlottekemp.co.za. And that is where I talk about my own personal work and some of my speaking work as well.
That is super. And it is a gold mine. You've also got wonderful books, and there's more about that in the other podcasts. So well worth checking out. Charlotte, we are looking forward so much to having you back with us in South Africa after your whole world tour that seems to be ongoing this year for the Professional Speakers Association of Southern Africa's Convention 2024. And in the meantime, we'll be seeing you online. Thank you so much for joining us once again on the League of Visionaries podcast.
Thank you, Maria. I really appreciate it. And the League of Visionaries is just such an inspiring way to think about the work that we do as speakers or other thought leaders.
You've been listening to the League of Visionaries podcast, brought to you by YaziMedia Virtual Media House. YaziMedia is a proud media partner to the PSASA Convention 2024. All the guests on this season of the podcast will be speaking at this premier event for speakers. Book your spot at the PSASA Convention 2024 on the PSASA website at www.psaSouthernAfrica.co.za.